podcast coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
On a Friday, and great to have you with us all across America and Canada. Hello, Canada. We see you. We got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes. Fridays are busy. Page versus the Prince a little later on. Six-pack. I can't even pick four. I'm going to take six. A four-pack of NFL picks from myself and Sam Yarnell. There are some baseball notes to get to from the wild card race. Big retirement announcement. Not a surprising one, but a big one nonetheless. Coming down as well. We'll preview the NASCAR race because it's a NASCAR Friday with a race in Dover this weekend to talk about with our friend Tino Pattigno. Robert Littal is here from Black Sports Online as well, but we start things out in the NFL, and Sam Yarnell is here. Oh, look at that glow. Look at the glow. The post-Bills glow on Sam Yarnell as they get a victory against the Miami Dolphins. It wasn't easy, Sam. 31-21. Buffalo does get the victory. And there were a lot of questions going into this game that we were asking about, whether or not Mike McDaniel would keep his job following a potential loss here, or what we all foresee, what we're foreseeing as a loss here. The headline for me is he keeps his job. He should keep his job. That team looked prepared. That team looked ready to play. That team looked hungry. And look, if not for a couple of mistakes in the fourth quarter, now you could say, well, they aren't prepared, and that's why mistakes happen. I'm not going there. The blocked punt attempt that turns into a penalty, and then obviously the Tua interception. It's a terrible interception by Tua. It's just I even tweeted it. I'm like, this, you just can't stare down the receiver like that in the NFL and expect to not have bad things happen. Josh Allen and this Bills team does what it does. And there's a conversation to be had about them that I want to get to in a second. But first, from the Dolphins' perspective in a loss, did McDaniel do enough to keep his job?
Yeah, for this week, right? It's very much a week-to-week thing. And the Dolphins played a great football game. And you heard in the postgame, Tyreek Hill, I think, or maybe it was Tua, one of their star players came out and said, man, you guys should have seen the way Mike McDaniel was coaching this team this week, the way he led men. And you could see it on the field, the way they were playing. It was a different Miami Dolphins team than we had seen through the first 2 weeks. All that said, their next two games are at home against the Jets and then on the road against the Panthers. I think if they lose either of those two games, we're right back to where we started with Mike McDaniel, considering you're probably staring down a Tyrod Taylor-led Jets team, and the Panthers still seem to be in football purgatory. So, yeah, Mike McDaniel, for the next week, you can relax a little bit, but that doesn't mean take your house off the market. I think over the next 2 weeks is when we'll really learn about how Chris Grier and this Dolphins front office feel about their head coach.
Yeah, I think they're going to feel good because I think they're going to win both of those games. And what I saw last night was enough to convince me this team could still win football games. So I'm not saying they're coming back from 0-3 to make the playoffs, but somebody's going to have to make the playoffs of these teams that have started slowly. So, I'm not saying the Dolphins will be that team, but you've got the Chiefs at 0-2. You got the Dolphins at 0-3. Somebody's got to make the playoffs. They can't all, they can't just take, a few less teams. Somebody's going to have to make the playoffs. So I'm not saying they're getting in. I'm just saying I wouldn't be shocked if through 5 weeks this team was 2-3. But again, we could finish the show today and you could be watching this right now. And by the time you watch it, because of when we put the show together in the morning, we could all be talking about, coming back on Monday going, man, that sucked. Mike McDaniel got fired and screwed up our whole show. So that's entirely possible as well. To the Bills' perspective, look, here's the reality about them. And as much as I was the one to bring up the topic yesterday of them going undefeated, if they were to, if everything broke right, they can go undefeated. This team's not going undefeated. After watching that game last night, look, they are demonstrably better than the Miami Dolphins. And halfway through the fourth quarter, it looked like the Dolphins had, every opportunity still to win this game. And now you've had two games at home where the first one they were outplayed for 3.5 quarters, and in this one they were basically played to a draw for the first 3.5 quarters against a Miami Dolphins team that they were favored by 11.5 against. it's all about getting the wins, that's fine. And if you want to look at the bright side of it, Sam, the bright side is they're not playing their best football yet, and they're still 3-0. So, with that said, where are you on the Bills after what you saw last night?
Yeah, actually in a completely different place. Actually, because of last night is why, and over the last 2 games, ironically, is why I actually now believe that of all the 32 teams in the NFL, obviously the Bills have the far and away best chance to go 17-0. And if we're actually talking about it being a real thing, the Bills are the only team, because of schedule and strength of everything, the Bills are the only team you could talk about having an actual chance. They're historically good. What's been especially interesting for me to watch over the last 2 weeks as a football fan is the Bills are not playing Bills football, and that's okay. They're beating teams by 10 and 27 points, playing the other team's game, which is something the Bills in the past have gotten so caught up doing and being unsuccessful at, and it's ultimately led to their demise over the course of the last 2 seasons. Some interesting stats that came out of last night, though. So through the first 3 games of the season, the Bills have a 3-0 record. They've scored 100+ points. They haven't turned the ball over once. They've taken less than 15 penalties. They have more than 150 rushing yards per game and more than 250 net passing yards per game. Never in NFL history has a team done that over any 3-game span, let alone to start a season. The Bills are playing a different level of dominant football right now, so much so that we can come on here the day after they beat a team who had preseason playoff expectations by 10 points, completely smother them, and we're picking apart. And I listened to this on Bills radio last night. The fans are picking apart each and every little thing after your MVP superhero unicorn quarterback goes out and plays a subpar game and you suffocate a team by 10 points.
Yeah, well, listen, on the Josh Allen front, it's hard to believe he could be better after an MVP season, but on the Josh Allen side of this, I'm not even gonna touch that. Josh Allen's gonna be fine. And ultimately, and we had a conversation about this with somebody, I can't remember who it was, about how much of this team and the expectations of what this team is going to accomplish is on his shoulders. I think he could handle that, by the way. I don't think it's gonna be a problem for him. But I gotta say, 2 of those wins are against the Dolphins, which by the time they came into week 3, we saw what they were, and the Jets. I still need to see a little more. Nobody's going undefeated in the NFL this year. I'm going to just say that right now. Nobody's going undefeated in the NFL. I know that's a bold prediction from Jason Page. I know, bold prediction, but nobody's going undefeated in the NFL, and not the Bills. They'll get tripped up somewhere. Pittsburgh, on the road in Pittsburgh is what I'm guessing. We got some baseball to do next. Welcome back to this Friday edition of the show. Robert Littal, Black Sports Online, joins us coming up in about 10 minutes. Talk with him about the top stories of the week around the sports world, things we may not have touched on in this show. Big changes over at ESPN when it comes to First Take. Talk about that with him. Sam Yarnell, let's talk some baseball and get into it. Sam Yarnell, let's talk some baseball and get into it. Talk a little bit about some of these wild card races, a retirement that is not shocking, but still newsworthy, that we'll get into as well. And started out with the wild card stuff. Look, Max Fried, fantastic last night for the Yankees, 7 innings, 13 strikeouts, a win on the road in Baltimore for the surging Yankees, who are, look, they're playing better baseball. There's no getting around it right now as they try to approach the postseason. And for Max Fried, leading the AL in wins with 18. He's got a shot at 20, which is like a dinosaur in baseball these days. You don't see him very often. An opportunity for him. And what has been, there are 2 signings that you got to look at when you talk about what the Yankees have done, before this season. If you want to, there's a lot of things you can crush Brian Cashman on over the years. Cody Bellinger doing what he's done, and Max Fried, obviously 2 big signings that are yielding big dividends for the Yankees.
Yeah, and if you're Max Fried or if you're the Yankees, this is exactly when you wanted him to kind of get hot again after his struggles since the All-Star break. He really has seemingly turned it around, and this is the right time for him to do so. Heading into a playoff race where, the Yankees are going to need him. When we talk about wild card teams, pitching staffs are the most important resource, especially in this modern playoff baseball scenario that we've come up with over the last 3 or 5 years, however long it's been. You really look at all these wild card teams, and the successful ones are the ones that have deep pitching staffs. That is my worry with the Yankees, but Max Fried heating up right now and pitching like, everything we know he's capable of is very, very important for a Yankees team that I think we can rule out winning the division at this point. I know it's something you teetered with for a long time, but they're going to have to battle through that wild card series, and they're going to need every arm they've got on deck to get the wins that matter.
Something we talked about, though, prior to this segment, we'll just say, was the idea of whether the Yankees are a World Series team or not. And the reality is, in an American League that feels wide open, I think the Yankees have as good a chance, I'm not saying better, but as good a chance as anybody of landing in the World Series. I have said all along, and I hate to make it sound so simplistic, but it is. It's just going to be a question of, who gets hot here as we approach October. And do you have faith in the Toronto Blue Jays? Tell me the last time they made a run to the World Series. Do you have faith in the Boston Red Sox, who have been, sort of meandering through the season? Do you have faith in the Detroit Tigers, the Mariners, the Astros? I mean, we could keep kind of running through the list here. All these teams have their warts, Sam.
Yeah, so I'm actually so excited about this take. It's going to be one of my favorites that I've ever made on the show.
Oh, God.
The reason, and I was making this point when you, Jason, and I were so rudely interrupted before the segment started by the powers that be. The reason that I am so comfortable at this point, even before we start the playoffs, writing off whoever the sixth seed in the National League will be it, even if it is the Mets, right, who I still don't think it will be. I think that the collapse is imminent, but whatever, right? I'm so comfortable writing the last place team in the National League, along with the bottom 5 teams in the American League, off from World Series contention, because over the last month, if you take that group of teams that I left out, which is in effect the Brewers, Phillies, Dodgers, Cubs, I'll throw the Padres in there, and Blue Jays, right? Mm-hmm. It's like the Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen Sunday night football game compared to every other football game and all the tweets you saw about it. Those teams that I mentioned, the Brewers, Phillies, Dodgers, Cubs, Padres, and Blue Jays, they're playing a different sport relative to all these other teams right now. They're like playing baseball too, and everybody else is just trying to figure out when they're going to lose to one of those teams in the playoffs. So, at the end of the day, maybe the American League does get crazy, and you have a team go on a 2019 Nationals-esque run, and the Yankees can get all the way to the World Series on the backs of that. But I just don't see them beating one of these teams at the forefront of the sport right now, which they'll probably have to do to get to the World Series.
Well, I don't see anybody out of the American League right now beating, whoever comes out of the National League on paper. However, we don't play games on paper. And guys can struggle, and guys could, go out and throw a clunker in the postseason. We've talked about the Brewers all year. How many times have we talked about the Brewers, and they wind up in the postseason and they find a way to lose to the Mets? I mean, it just, to me, I think other than the Dodgers, I don't think anybody's inevitable. I don't think anybody is inevitable right now when you look at sort of where things align as far as these wild card teams are, and frankly, anybody who makes the postseason. Quick thought on Clayton Kershaw, speaking of the Dodgers. Been an amazing career. And I don't think any of us should be shocked at the news that he's decided to retire at the end of this year. He got to his 3,000 strikeouts. It's been an amazing Hall of Fame career for Clayton Kershaw. I thought the timing of announcing it was kind of weird. I don't know why you're announcing it, now. You don't really get to do the farewell tour because you're getting ready to start the postseason. So the timing of it was a little weird to me, but not a shock at all that Clayton Kershaw has decided to hang it up after this season and leaving on a good note.
Right. I think that there's the timing of it may be a little weird. Everybody knew that this was coming. Nobody thought that Clayton Kershaw was going to pitch next year. I think even with the IL stint at the beginning of the season and him starting the season 2 months late, that kind of gave everybody the idea that, okay, this is just, we're just walking the old show pony around the track one more time. Truly an impressive career for Clayton Kershaw. He'll go down as a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it. His home ERA, Jason, career 2.26. That's how many runs he gave up at home per 9 innings. It's the best of any pitcher with over 1,000 innings in their career.
Oh, they're walking him around the track. I hope they're not taking him out back to shoot him. Oh my God. Give me the horse analogy. I was worried we're putting him out to pasture or something. I don't know. Been a great career for Clayton Kershaw, though. Certainly one of the finest of this generation. All right, there's more to do. Robert Littal joins us from Black Sports Online, talk about the top stories of the week. Sam returns later for Page versus the Prince. I have to do better than I did last week. I can't do worse. All right, we take it to segment 3 on this Friday edition of SportsWrap. If it's a Friday, it means a lot of things. One, we got Page versus the Prince, our 4-pack of NFL picks coming up a little later on. It also means it's a NASCAR Friday with Tino Pattigno stopping by from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio and Tubi to preview this week's race in Dover. But it also means this guy is here. He didn't lose his shirt in Las Vegas last weekend, apparently, because he's wearing one right now. His name is Robert Littal. He is the founder of Black Sports Online. He joins us every week on the show, talk about some of the top stories of the week, some that we get to, some that we don't get to. So what were your impressions of Las Vegas? You got to see Allegiant Stadium for the boxing, and then 2 days later, they flip it around for the Monday Night Football game. What were your impressions of Allegiant Stadium?
It was great atmosphere. The boxing atmosphere is something that you can only get in a football stadium. It felt like a World Cup match, I guess, so to speak. That type of enthusiasm for fight fans. When it's a big fight, there's not much that can compare to that in sports. And, Raider fans are very passionate. So that was definitely an experience. They dress up. It's almost like Halloween. It's a smaller NFL stadium, but I actually think that's to its advantage. Unlike SoFi, that's like 100,000, so everybody can't fit in there. It's kind of so big.
Dallas is like that. It's 100,000.
It muffles the sound a bit. I feel like in Allegiant Stadium, no matter where you're sitting, you feel like you're close to the action. So it's definitely a recommend for me.
All right. You didn't lose your shirt? No gambling? We didn't hit the tables at all?
I lost a little bit on Canelo. I'm a little upset at the Mexican redhead, but that's not too much.
In the day, let me ask you real quick before I get to the stuff out of ESPN that I want to talk to you about. How much, in the days following the fight, what have you heard coming out of that fight that maybe caught your attention? Not the day after when we talked on Monday, but what you heard in the days since that.
Well, I think it's really more about what Turkey Al-Sheikh and TKO and Dana White, what their plans are going forward. Because I guess one of the issues with boxing is you get, like we talked about, you get a big fight and then, you don't hear from these guys for another year and a half. And that really kind of hurts the sport. So will they be able to continually make these, big fights in a more expedient fashion?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. All right, to the news out of ESPN this week, and we didn't talk about it all week on this show because I wanted to save it for you, and that was Molly Qerim basically just disappearing. She's there one day and then she's gone the next with just an Instagram post saying, hey, I moved on to the next chapter of my career. It sounds like, I listened to Marcellus Wiley and watched some of what he's saying, and you sort of read the tea leaves, and it sounds like they just wanted to sort of pigeonhole her into this role, and they weren't really willing to expand her and sort of let her spread her wings, as opposed to being the moderator between Stephen A. Smith and special guest host A, B, or C. And she just said, I'm going to go find out what's on the other side of this.
Yeah, I have a few sources there, and essentially, there's a contract negotiation, and being the host and being with Stephen A. Smith for that long, I mean, it can kind of ride on you a little bit, and she had seen what other hosts have went on to do in these type of shows. You see what Joy Taylor had went on to do, what Carrie Champion had went on to do, and others. And she wanted to do that, but it didn't seem like ESPN was interested in that. And then she's also seeing all this big money that's being thrown around by ESPN, not to just, Stephen A. Smith, but Dan Orlovsky, Malika Andrews. And she feels she's as much part of the show as they are, as important to the network. But that number, is a little bit lower. And also, someone she believes on ESPN side leaked that information that she did not want to leak. And you got to think about how social media is now. Once that got leaked, the next show is going to be totally uncomfortable. People are going to be speculating. They're going to be making up rumors. There's going to be fake things on Facebook. I just don't think she wanted to deal with that, especially as a woman in the industry. A lot of certain things can be said about you. And she, like you said, she just said, I'd just rather leave right now.
I would think she has thicker skin, though, working with somebody like Stephen A., that the social media part of it wouldn't bother. I think she truly felt disrespected. But, I got to say this, Robert, and this is not a shot at Molly Qerim. It's more of a speech on sort of what happens to a lot of these personalities when they always think the grass is greener on the other side and that they can be bigger than what ESPN built them up to be. And there are countless examples. You can talk about Joy Taylor, Carrie Champion, and I don't say this as disrespect to her. It really hasn't gone well for her since she left ESPN. She's kind of bounced around. She's a political commentator here and there. She doesn't really have a lane anymore, per se. I don't think it's gone that well for her. I could talk about the Michelle Beadle, and Beadle's a friend of mine, but I could talk about the Beadle thing, where she's bounced around, and some of that has to do with her personality and maybe how she rubs people and things like that. But there have been a lot of examples where people leave and find out the grass isn't so much, isn't that much greener on the other side.
I wonder if she already has something in play.
But it still may not wind up being better or a bigger platform.
But listen. Sometimes when we talk about grass is not greener, we talk about exposure and we don't talk about peace of mind.
Sure.
And Beadle, her peace of mind is much better.
Oh yeah.
Without ESPN, and I know Carrie a little bit, and her peace of mind is better. Jamel Hill's peace of mind is better.
She's done it, but Jamel Hill's carved out a nice, thing for herself. But Pablo Torres,
peace of mind is where the grass is at. Especially if you made, good money at the time that you were at ESPN, that you can afford. Some people can't afford to just walk away. But if you can, and that peace of mind is what you're really looking for, then, there you go.
What does it mean for First Take ultimately in your mind? Anything?
Not much.
See? That's the point. And that's what ESPN is saying right now. And that's why they're not going to give her the moon and stars. Because they say we can take any nondescript, attractive female. This is not me talking. This is me saying what I think ESPN is thinking. And plug them in and boom, we'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Stephen A. Smith show. I mean, and that's across pretty much the entire network. Hey, I tell you something. I emailed the president of content and told him what I think they should do.
Really?
Yeah. What I got to lose? I told him it's nothing different than I've said on social media.
All right, then what have you said?
I told them that they have too many ex-athletes. Specifically, they have too many black male athletes. They need to bring in some more independent journalists. They need to be more locally centric. When they're talking about certain teams like Oklahoma City, or they're talking about teams like Jacksonville Jaguars, they need to bring in local reporters on the show to educate Stephen A. Smith, because he can't know everything. Yeah. And I think they would bring in a totally different audience for people that want to see different voices and not the same people over and over again on ESPN.
Robert Littal, ladies and gentlemen, consultant. And owner of and founder of Black Sports Online.
I did it for free.
We got another segment coming. The great Robert Littal is hanging out with us from Black Sports Online because it's a Friday on SportsWrap. Representing St. John's for some reason that I don't know.
My daughter is going to graduate.
Oh my God, I'm such an idiot.
Yeah, my daughter graduates in 2026 from St. John's. I'm St. John's dad. My
Now,
secondary school behind Ohio State.
Okay, because I always just expect to see something Ohio State.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Splashed all
Shout
over.
out to my daughter Layla.
Shout out. I like it. Are we gonna start bringing her on the show like Stephen A. Smith is doing with his daughter?
She definitely can make fun of me.
What is she going to school for, if you don't mind me asking?
Public relations. She's going to be a PR person, and she's very good at the video editing and the TikToks and all of that stuff. Got a couple of jobs already lined up. So I guess she's just like Molly right after school.
WNBA, we asked the question and posited the question earlier in the week about, just how much people are going to watch these playoffs. And if the opening round has been any indication, and I don't know what the ratings have been like per se, but if the quality of play in the opening round is any indication, I hope people are watching, because it's been an entertaining opening round.
They got to get off this schedule. Here's the thing. I was watching football, pretty like everybody else in the world yesterday. And I just happened to casually glance at what was going on with the Fever and what was going on with the Aces. And I think, man, these games are great. So I kind of jumped in, at the end of the games to see the finishes. But I know so many people, once football season starts and baseball is coming to an end and college football, they just kind of, especially with no Caitlin Clark, they just kind of tune out, the WNBA. And that's sad because, like you said, those were some NBA finals quality type of playoff games, but I think they've been lost in the scheduling because there's so much other sports that are bigger than the WNBA that's going on.
Look, this is just a crazy hunch on my part. I don't know if anything will come of it. If somehow the Fever managed to get through another round and get this thing to a situation where they're in the WNBA finals, are you telling me Caitlin Clark's not going to try to find some way to play in the WNBA finals?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know why. It's not conspiracy theory thing. I just wonder if they make a deep enough run. I don't know. I haven't seen any reporting on this or anything like that. If she's trying to get herself into a position that if this team makes it to the WNBA finals, if she could actually play.
It's kind of a funky situation because let's say she does.
And it's a groin. It's not like she broke an ankle.
Yeah, I mean, let's say she does play and, they lose. It's like, oh, she should have stayed. They were doing fine with, she hasn't had any type of surgery that I'm aware of.
No.
She's bouncing up and down on the sideline. I don't think they thought that they would even go this far. So you're probably right. So I don't know. Maybe that's something for these WNBA reporters instead of trying to make, Angel Reese and talking about sneakers and stuff. Maybe that's to get it out there and ask some damn questions to get some answers.
Something we have not talked about this week on the show, or frankly through the first 3 weeks, 2 weeks and one game of the NFL season. The NFL has done one thing right. They have made kickoff returns great again. I mean, man, for all the ways that the NFL gets it wrong and succeeds in spite of itself, Robert Littal, the changes, they finally got it right with the kickoff rule. Kickoffs are fun again.
I don't like it.
What?
I don't like it. Here's the thing. It's not that I don't like the fact that there are more returns. Here's what I don't like. It's unfair because the guys are just standing there and they so far back. The guys don't run 30 yards before anybody even touches them. To me, like when Devin Hester ran a kickoff back, it was art. It was a movie. It was cinema. This is not cinema, right here. This is just a guy running fast for 30 yards for anybody. If they would have just kept the regular rules and just pushed the kickoff back, because these guys have bigger legs now, they would have got the same results, but we would have got cinema of the kickoff, not these guys just standing there. I can run for 25 yards right now on a kickoff. Right now.
I don't know. You might be able to jog 75 yards.
Where's my helmet? I'll put my helmet.
I don't know.
25 yards right now. Thursday night football. You kick me off and give me at the 1 yard line. I guarantee I can get you 25 yards before anybody even touch me.
And then we'd be pooping.
Well, then I'll go to the hospital when I got hit.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I can get those 25 yards.
Yeah, exactly. We'd all be worried for your safety once they do finally catch up to you at the 35-yard line. We asked this question yesterday on the show. I think this is the last year of the tush push, as we know it.
Yeah,
I think this is it. Yeah. They're going to start heavily scrutinizing it. You saw the story about what the officials are told to look out for now. I think this play is getting eliminated. It almost got eliminated before this season. Yeah. I think it's done after this year.
And I think it's sad because it's just one team, and it's your job to figure out how to stop it. If it was something like it was a cheat or like a cheat code,
that's what it feels like. A cheat. It feels like when I used to be able to block extra points on Madden when I was a kid.
But it's just one team. Like, here's the thing: anybody can do it. I mean, and we've seen other teams try. They're just not good at it. I mean, it's maybe it's what we can call like a glitch or an exploit that one team has figured out. But I think you're right. I think it's just, I mean, they ran it like 7 times or something against the Chiefs or something, and got it like every single, time. So I think you're right. But, people are creative. They'll find a different way to, I mean, Jalen Hurts' thighs are not going to change. You know what I'm saying? They'll figure out a way.
By the way, Chargers the class of the AFC West in your mind?
Right now, yeah, absolutely. I mean, defense,
I'm not a believer in the Broncos.
Here's a defense is right now Super Bowl caliber, and Justin Herbert now has weapons. The running game's not too great, but it's still early, and the Chargers are the Chargers. But right now, I think you would have to consider them the favorites. I mean, I think they handled the Chiefs and the Raiders even better than what the scores indicated in those games.
Robert Littal is the founder of Black Sports Online. He does a great job with it. I always appreciate you, my friend. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you back here next week.
Bye, Layla.
We're coming back on this Friday edition of Sports Wrap. Sports Wrap continues. Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes, but it's not Odds and Ends on a Friday. It's Page versus the Prince. 4-pack of NFL picks. Hopefully I do better than last week because I can't do worse. I was 1-3. I guess I could do worse. I can go winless. This guy doesn't go winless. Tino Pattigno is here, ladies and gentlemen. SiriusXM NASCAR Radio Tubi contributes with those guys, and he joins us here on the show. You asked me before we came on the air. Said, so did you watch Bristol? Not only did I watch Bristol, I had the popcorn out. I mean, it was. I said the only thing missing from that race was a guy being shot out of a cannon. You had cars on fire. You had smoke billowing, and one of them, guy having to jump out of his car. I mean, everything you could want out of a NASCAR race, you got it last week in Bristol. That said, I have to ask you, while drivers have said we want, the tire wear and all of that stuff, after they got it last week, was the reaction still, yes, this is what we want? Or did some people pull back and say, this might have been a little too far?
From a driver standpoint, definitely more on the side of, hey, we'd like to at least know this was coming, because they were telling Goodyear NASCAR was saying this is what we're expecting. We're going to try to get this out of the race cars. But in practice, the very limited practice session they had, nothing wore. There was no fall off. So the drivers were saying, oh yeah, normal conditions. We're just kind of going to run like normal in the spring where there wasn't much fall off. That's how it's going to be again. So everyone was kind of like, oh man, all right, swing and a miss. And then shocked to see the amount of fall off that we did. So I think from a driver standpoint, and they've been consistent with this since post-COVID next-gen era, since practices and practice times have changed, they want more practice. They want to be able to experience the fall off and get the data and the analysis that the crew chiefs can have and plan for something like that to happen.
Yeah, and that's fair. At the end of the day, when you look at the 12 drivers that have sort of qualified for the next round, is there one more than another that surprises you?
Austin Cindric surprised me, sitting in 9th right now, -1 from the cut line, and a gutsy performance. You're talking about cars at Bristol that had smoke in them. Josh Berry was one. He gets eliminated. Car, couldn't too much smoke to handle. Obviously had to get out, be safe. But Austin Cindric, a lot of smoke in that car. He stays in the race. He drives off pit road, not even able to see it look like. And to me, that was something where maybe a lot of people saw him as a first round exit, right? Wouldn't really be wrong to say. That's a fair, opinion, but the fact that he's able to make it to this round of 12 is a win for them in that group. That's getting better, and I'm glad to see him do so. And only being -1 of the cut line, if you have a consistent round right here, you can continue to move on to the round of 8, in which you win one race, then you're into the championship 4.
Real quick, were you happy with the decision for them to add the extra set of tires? Almost like changing the rules in the middle of the game. To me, it was like if they said in the middle of an NBA game, you know what, we're going to add an extra quarter. I'd just look at them and be like, what?
So yes, I was definitely, I definitely agree with that choice. I wouldn't say, here's what I would say for baseball. I wouldn't say a quarter or an extra inning or anything like that. I would say maybe we're going to add, more sand because it was raining in the box, in the batter's box. To me, I think that's what my analysis could be of that, to sort of compare it in MLB terms. The reason is the teams just would not be able to make it. Like, you would not be able to make it the full distance without that extra set of tires because of the rate that they were falling off. We were getting almost less than 30 laps per run, and drivers were blowing right front or having to make it down pit road. So this was a necessary extreme case scenario, and NASCAR did have to implement it. And it also did provide an extra sort of strategy layer to the race too, that they did do once in the spring in 2024 when we had this issue.
All right, New Hampshire. Denny Hamlin won here, if I'm not mistaken, earlier this year?
No, so first race for New Hampshire this season, and last year it was Christopher Bell. Okay. Last year was Christopher Bell who won it, and in fact, this is the Christopher Bell. When you think New Hampshire, it's all Christopher Bell. He has 11 starts here in the 3 NASCAR series, Trucks, Xfinity, Cup, 7 wins.
And he's your favorite, and he's your favorite this week, Christopher Bell. Denny Hamlin, by the way, 7-1, second best odds on FanDuel, along with Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson. Give me your sort of take, and who needs a big performance this week? I look at Bubba Wallace, who's right on the cut line right now, obviously with a couple of races, and Kansas is a spot where he's won before, so obviously he's looking forward to that. But give me a sense, like, who needs it this week?
Well, there's one driver that no one wants to hear me say needs it, and it's probably going to get it, and that's Joey Logano.
Wow.
Joey Logano walks into New Hampshire. He's probably going to get a strong top 5 finish, if not the win, and he's a good value to do so. Right now I'm seeing him plus 950 around there. Here's the thing. If it's not Bell, it can be Logano. Another driver I was going to say was Ross Chastain. They're 10th and 11th below the cut line. This sets up to be a good round for both of them, but they're going to need, to me, I look at this list of drivers in the NASCAR playoffs round of 12. The top 6, I would say, are locked. Now, obviously, they're not actually, but with how strong they've all performed and getting stage points and running up front, I'm going to say that. That leaves Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, 7-8. They also should advance, but they're only +5, +1, respectively, above the cut line. For Joey Logano, this is a race where he can win it. He's done the tire test at this racetrack, so we haven't had any races here, but the tires we'll be using, he has an advantage. And last time we saw that, North Wilkesboro last year, Joey goes down and dominates. We saw it at other tracks this season where it's played a factor to where if you get the position to do a tire test, you're just having more data. Like, it is a little bit of, I can't say cheating, but it's an advantage. And Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, Ross Chastain, those 3 drivers were able to do the tire test for their manufacturers.
Real quick in the last 20 seconds, Zane Smith, a non-playoff guy, had a shot last week to win this race, to win the race in Bristol. Is there a non-playoff driver you like this week?
I like John Hunter Nemechek. He's a strong driver that's been on the up and up, just like Zane.
All right, we'll go with that one, John Hunter Nemechek. That is our man Tino Pattigno, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, and Tubi. Does a great job. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Friday. Before we go, a couple of reminders. Make sure to check out the SportsWrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it. Any podcasting platform, we're there for you. 45 minutes commercial free. In addition to being able to watch this show on over 275 affiliates around the country, you can also watch it on our YouTube channel. The SportsWrap with Jason Page YouTube channel has the show there. SportsWrap shorts are there. The game ends last night. Boom, you go there. We've got a SportsWrap short for it. Even though I got the score wrong, I said 30-21. It was 31-21. I am a professional. So always go and check that out for SportsWrap Shorts. Page versus the Prince, our picks will be there on Sunday. If you want winning or losing advice, as it was for me last week, you can go check that out as well. And without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, on this Friday edition of the show, there's only one thing left to do.
It's Friday, and that means it's time for the weekly face-off for sports betting bragging rights. It's Page versus the Prince on the Sports Wrap.
Sam Yarnell, there's only one thing for me to do following my 1-3 last week and your 4-0. As you read your picks, I will live in shame. Sam Yarnell, give me your 4 winners for the week in Page versus the Prince, sir.
Yeah, that's the best bit we've ever done on the show. That is certainly it. Oh, all right, let me wipe the tears out of my eyes and give you my picks for the week. On the backs of, like Jason mentioned, a perfect week. I think it's the second year in a row we've gone 4-0 in week 2. All right, let's get it started. I talked about this earlier in the week. We did the numbers game. There's one of these 0-2 teams that will make the playoffs. It will be the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes doesn't miss the playoffs, right? Well, if he does, the narratives that I'm going to spin are going to be wild. Give me the Chiefs minus 5.5 on the road in New York. I think it's a get-right game. I'm sorry, Jason. I think the Giants get blown out this week as much as I believe in that football team. Next, I'm taking the home dogs. Give me the Jason Page special. The Chicago Bears getting 1.5 at home against the Dallas Cowboys. Listen, this is a regression to the mean week for the Cowboys. I don't think they should be favored in this game. They're not more talented than the Bears are. Give me the Bears at home as a dog plus 1.5. Next, one of my favorite bets of the season. A bet that I've been talking about in private circles 4 weeks waiting for them to open the number. I said I'd bet the under if it was 30.5 in this game, so I'd love to take under 41.5 in Packers-Browns. You're giving me 2 great defenses in the NFL and Jordan Love and Joe Flacco as the quarterbacks? Yeah, I don't know where you're finding points in that one. Give me under 41.5 in Packers-Browns. And finally, another Jason Page special. I'm riding with the rookie. Give me Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans at home plus 4.5 against Indiana Jones and the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Colts have a little bit of fraud to them. I don't think they're as good as their record reflects. I think the Titans get their first win of the season this year and at least cover the 4.5.
Couldn't see my reactions under the bag, but I don't deserve to have reactions that anybody could see because I was 1-3 last week. You should have seen the crap that people were giving me on social media when I post those picks. Yeah, wasn't pretty, but we own it. I went 3-1 the week before, so I'm 4-4 for the season. Not exactly dog meat. Sam is 6-2. Through the first 2 weeks after a 2-2 opening week. All right, I got 4 picks. I don't have a lot of confidence in myself right now. I'm reeling coming off of what took place last week, but we will persevere. Give me the Steelers minus 1.5 on the road against the Patriots. It's a get-right spot for Aaron Rodgers and this team this week. Patriots able to capitalize on a Dolphins team that was sort of reeling last week. I like the Steelers this week. This is the sort of game that Mike Tomlin and this team win. Bears and Cowboys, I'll go over 50.5. I mean, we've seen what the Cowboys gave up 1,000 to the Giants. Are you telling me that Ben Johnson can't find some way to score points? And we know the Cowboys are going to score because they're the Cowboys. And the Bears have been giving up points left and right. 50.5, I'll go over. Bengals and Vikings. Game number 3. In the backup bowl. Give me over 42.5 in that game. They're going to toss it around. I still think the Bengals will score points with Jake Browning at quarterback. In Browning, we trust. Carson Wentz could be the new starting quarterback for the Vikings by week 4 if you believe Sam Yarnell. Chargers minus 2.5 at home against the Broncos. I like Los Angeles. You know how I feel about Denver, and if you've listened to this show or watched this show over the first 2 weeks, you know how I feel about the Chargers. I think the Chargers are the class of the AFC West. I think the Broncos are a bit fraudulent. I thought they were fraudulent coming into the season. You heard me, Denver. Nick Ferguson, Bo Nix, Sean Payton. Give me the Steelers minus 1.5. The Bears and Cowboys over 50.5. The Bengals and Vikings over 42.5 in the backup bowl. And give me the Chargers minus 2.5 at home against the Broncos. Page versus the Prince.
Backup bowl over's a vibes pick. I love it.
I was going to ask if you had final thoughts, but there they are. Thank you to Tino Pattigno, Robert Littal, you, Sam Yarnell. Hopefully we do better this weekend than we did last weekend. We meaning me. See y'all back here on Monday.
Do better.
No, you couldn't do better.